Hello, all of my over 50 friends. Today I'm going to share with you 10 of the best parts of aging, specifically as a woman. Now, before I dive into that, I do want to share my own personal perspective on aging, which might be a little bit different or unconventional. And I'm someone who is actually excited about aging. I don't fear aging. I'm not consumed by aging. I'm actually kind of excited to be able to grow older. In fact, I'm filming this, you guys, less than 12 hours before my birthday tomorrow, which I will turn 53. Now, I feel like my perspective may be a little bit different because of the experiences that I've had. And had I not had those, maybe I would look differently about aging. But I am someone who lost their sister. I lost my sister when she was 53. My sister was 8 years older, so it's been a few years now. But I lost my sister when she was 53, the age that I will turn tomorrow, from lung disease. And I lost my brother, who was 5 years older than me. He was 51 when he passed away from pancreatic cancer. And I'm someone who lost my mom in her early 60s from breast cancer. My father's also passed away from Alzheimer's, but he was granted a lot longer life than my siblings and my mom. So I feel like maybe perhaps, well, not maybe, that is probably why my perspective is a little bit different. I truly am excited to get older. I don't mind it at all. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not excited about some of the changes that I have been experiencing, and I know you know what some of those are, and I'll talk about that in the video here today. But I do want to share this with you because, to tell you guys, if you don't know, this is the 4th video in a series here on my channel about aging well for women, and it's surrounding research from a social scientist and researcher, Maddie Dykewald, who has partnered with Mayo Clinic Press, and in May of this year, they released a book called Ageless Aging, and I have it here. And this is from someone who is an aging woman herself, who has decades of experience in research specifically on longevity for women. So I've been loving this book, and I have already filmed the first few chapters, which, by the way, you can start here too. It won't be a problem if this is the first video in the series that you're seeing. But this particular chapter that I'm going to share with you today, chapter 3, is about the upsides to aging. Because here's what can happen. And I think this would be completely normal, that as we age, we might fear the downward spiral or the decline. Some of the negative things that you would think about coming with aging, especially us in menopause, and I get it. I truly do. So I'm not saying that it's always fun per se, but there are some wonderful things about aging as women, and I'm excited to share them with you today. It's the first one, and again, no particular order, but the first wonderful thing about aging as a woman is our life tends to get better and better in many ways. Now again, what we tend to do is focus on a decline and the physical changes that we might be going through. But if we can allow ourselves to spend less time on that and recognizing things like the emotional intelligence that we gain and the wisdom that we gain and the resilience that we gain, things like that is perspective. Like I just mentioned, the incredible losses that I've been through, but I do feel that those experiences and the way that I metabolize them have allowed me to have a different perspective that's more positive and grateful with aging. Number 2, one of the best things about aging as a woman is this U-curve of happiness. Now here's what this means. So up until about the age of 25, we tend to experience a lot of happiness in our life. Now if you think of the letter U and the shape of that, so this U-curve of happiness. So we're sailing along up to about the age of 25 where things are, pretty happy in our lives and the events. Now from ages 25 to 50, it tends to dip. Our happiness tends to dip, which can be for all sorts of reasons. Things like childbearing might be a little bit more difficult. Our careers might be demanding, things like that. So from 25 to 50, our happiness tends to dip. But the good news is right around age 50 and those decades following up until about 80, our happiness tends to soar. So we have a lot to look forward to in regarding this U-curve of happiness, so that our happiness tends to increase after the age of 50. Now these next two are kind of related, so I'll cover them together and kind of piggyback well onto that second one, that U-curve of happiness. Is something that Maddie calls a freedom zone, where our self-confidence tends to increase when we're older as women. So initially we might start out where our self-confidence is a lot lower than men, but as we age, we tend to not only catch up, but maybe get even more self-confident than we ever have been. So what Maddie calls this freedom zone is something that I bet a lot of people can relate to. Maybe you have an empty nest now, or maybe you just don't have all the responsibilities that you once had with raising children or the career that I just mentioned. Because number 4 is something that Maddie calls the time affluence. So the 4 is one of the best things about getting older. It kind of piggies back on with this freedom zone where we now have this energy and this time to be able to spend on things that maybe we didn't, which largely is ourselves, right? So time affluence is being able to have this time to spend on things that we want to and maybe chase whole new dreams. So the freedom zone is being able to maybe be released from some of the responsibilities that we once had to focus more on us, and that time affluence is now having that time available to focus on it. Number 5 is something I just kind of alluded to in the intro of this video, where we can metabolize our experience to be able to build our wisdom. So here's something that really struck me with number 5 about metabolizing our experience and growing our wisdom, is Maddie was saying that in the book where we have experiences that we go through. Have you ever noticed some people don't tend to learn from their experiences? So it's one thing to go through something, but it's another to be able to metabolize it in a way that you can build your wisdom and your resilience from that. I try really hard not to have blind spots. So I try to look at my own life. What took me maybe a few times to learn something, that it took me a few experiences as well. So I do try to look back on that. But these are opportunities that we have, you guys, these perspectives that we have, the resilience that we build, that emotional intelligence that tends to grow as we get older, when we're able to metabolize, kind of really break down those experiences that we go through to be able to build our wisdom. All right, number 6 is a fun one. I hadn't really heard of this before. Maddie talks about one of the benefits to us as women as we age is what's called the rise of the mentern. And that's a hybrid word that Maddie created between the word of mentor and intern. So if you think about maybe our career, where we are now at a more advanced stage, that we have an opportunity to perhaps be mentors to our younger counterparts at work, or an organization maybe that you're part of. Well, the hybrid and the idea of this mentor and the rise of that is, if we go into this with a really open mind, not only do we have things that we can share with this other generation that we might be working with, but we can learn a lot of things from them as well. So it's kind of that combination of being able to be in a position where we're working with different generations, which we each have something to share and learn from each other. The 7th big benefit to aging as a woman, what Maddie calls plussing the negatives. Now this is something that you might be familiar with regarding Disney and the way they create their movies. So Disney animators will get together in a room, and as a group, they will look at a piece of content or an idea, and it may be something they initially didn't even like, or they didn't come up with themselves. But they go in there with the mindset of, we're going to look at this, and even though it might be something originally negative, or again, something they didn't originally adopt themselves, they're going to look at it and find the positives. And then once they've identified the positives, they build on that. And together, they create these amazing films that a lot of us have enjoyed, right? So plussing the negatives. The 8th best thing about aging as a woman is what's called the positivity effect. Now, when we're younger, what's really typical is we would give a lot of time and our energy in recalling things that were negative. We pay attention to negative news or negative experience, negative feedback, things like that, completely normal. But as we age, and especially when we realize, and it become a point where we're like, it should be obvious, but we're not going to be here forever. And we do want the time that we have to be focused on things that are positive. And so it's a natural thing that as we age, we tend to gravitate more and put more energy and recall things that are positive, and that's known as the positivity effect. Number 9, without a doubt, is one of my favorites. One of the absolute best things I have personally experienced growing older as a woman is being more of who I am and caring a lot less what other people think. And I know a lot of you can relate, right? These are things that just will naturally come about as we age. And I'm just at a point where nonsense in my life, I protect my peace, I protect my happiness, and if there's someone who's just creating chaos, I'm done. I just don't tolerate things that I used to, and I'm also unbothered by what other people think of me. I'm out here living my best life, doing the best that I can with the hands that I've been dealt, and having fun, and I just don't care. It used to bother me for days if I thought that maybe someone didn't like me or was upset with me or said something. I really would think about it days and days and days, and it would bother me. I just don't anymore. I'm done. I'm over it. I'm a complete sassafras a lot of the times. I just don't care. And I will vocalize that too more than I ever did. If somebody's doing something that I find is completely inappropriate, I'll speak up. Or maybe, that's the self-confidence that we talked about earlier too. So being able to be in a position as we age as women, caring a lot less of what other people think and just being who we truly are. All right, number 10. When I read this one in the book, I fully embraced it. I'm all in. And what it is us being able to give a gift to all of the women that come behind us. Because us as aging women, if we're around my age or older, we are really being pioneers in this longevity field for women, because we're the ones that are living the longest in mass than ever before. And we have the ability, if we can help change the cultural narrative on aging, let's do it. It's one of those things that right now we might have some internal bias about aging that we don't even realize. But what a gift it could be if we can look at the way women are treated now with aging and help change that narrative. And I already feel like I kind of see a shift on this. So we want the women behind us to know that there is nothing to fear about aging. Yes, things change, and there will be some things that we have to work out and that we have to sort out, and there will be some things that maybe are not as desirable that, in our youth we didn't have to battle. But it's something that we want to help people realize all of the wonderful things, like the things that I talked about in this video, some of the best parts about aging as a woman. Now, having heard the 10 wonderful things about aging as a woman, where would you begin? So in the book at the end of chapter 3, you guys definitely pick up this book. It is so worth the investment. So in the end of this chapter 3, Maddie gives some steps that you can take. And maybe you're someone who is coming from a perspective very different from mine. Maybe you're someone who really is worried about aging and you're not excited about it. She gives some steps in the book that you kind of tiptoe your way into maybe looking at more of these things that we talked about in this video, or how to be able to explore some of the upsides to aging as women. Or maybe you do share my perspective and you're kind of excited about it. She also has tips at the end of chapter 3 for that. She also has hacks that she calls at the end of chapter 3 for being able to kind of go out there and do some wonderful things as we age as women. And one that I really like that I want to do is she talked about hosting a generational dinner party. And I loved that idea. So having a dinner party, people over of different generations. So people that are older than me, people that are younger than me, if we can all kind of get together for an evening, I feel like that would be really fun. Remember that we have the ability to learn all from each other. So that was something that was just one idea of the hacks that she shared at the end of that chapter. So the next video, you guys, it'll be the last in the first part of the book, where we'll cover 5 steps to what we'll use to be able to create the plan to age well. And then the rest of the book, so this is a series on my channel, if I didn't already say that, I will link it down below. So the next chapter, I will share those 5 steps to be able to set up our plan, and then we start putting the plan into place with the rest of the book. So definitely go to Maddie's website. I'll link it below. You can get this on her website, Mayo Clinic's website, Amazon. And I appreciate you all letting me share this with you. I would love it if down in the comments you might share some upsides to aging that I didn't mention in the video, or maybe some of those that resonated with you. I just love a conversation around this. So thank you all so much for letting me share this with you, and I will see you next time.